our statements will elicit a smiling, there are no wrong answers, and which of ours will not. I would like to thank Gary for his teaching what my high school teachers quickly glossed over, ignored, or couldn't see through their blinders. For his encouraging tangential wanderings in his own Socratic method, and when I realized I didn't need any more low classes and I dropped his class, for forgiving me. I would like to thank Pete Brooke for his encouraging artistic advice, for his continual concern for corralling cantankerous convicts who refuse to have confidence in their own ability to create cool art, and for his witty wry criticisms. I would like to thank my friends, co-students, and even nemesis in the UVB for accepting my near constant contrary objections and for tolerating my percentage humor. I would like to thank my friend, Atif Rafay, the prima inter pares, or first among equals, of pedantic, donnish, didactic, and over well-read scholars that I aspire to become. I would like to thank my friend Jeremy Boone for studying flashcards in the big yard, and maybe once or twice at work, for laughing at my unfunny jokes, at least when he's too tired to think, and for kind of being the little brother I've always wanted, a sort of little Padawan to instruct, or correct. I, of course, would also like to thank my family. I would like to thank my sister, Laura Case, for her continual camaraderie, for her knowing when to tell me to cut out the bowl, not that I listen, and for her being the best big little sister a guy could ask for. Hey, they can't all be hilarious. Besides, I've got to be nice. She's the only one in this prison who's kicked my butt. I would like to thank my stepdad, George Dodge, for his proving to me that you actually can be a wonderfully decent, heartening, caring person, despite voting Republican. And lastly, finally, I would like to thank my mother, Jane Dodge, for her relentless support of my flopping, mostly forward-moving education, for her kind discouragement of my whiny, mostly stagnant procrastinations, and for pretending, as only a mother can, that my wit is, in fact, funny. In summary, I will continue my education, not because it heals pain I've caused or damage I've done, but because it's better than the alternative. It's better than the alternative I put us through. Because just as humor, or its flailed fumblings, is better than bland lecturing, I will be better for my loved ones, for myself, and for always, in part because of education. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I think I can promise to be less funny and slightly longer than Jeff is, which is, in one count at least, kind of a surprise. Over the past several weeks, people have been congratulating Jeff and me on graduating, and it's always made me kind of uncomfortable. And that's for a couple of different reasons. And the first of these is probably the simplest. It's that although we are receiving the associate's degree, we're not yet quite graduates yet. We're both still undergraduates, a fact of which we're both keenly aware since we both want to do postgraduate studies. The fact of which I'm always reminded when I see the large pile of books that teeters over my bed when I go home at night. I'm also conscious of the fact that what should count more than a degree conferred is the work accomplished. And in that regard, I've certainly left quite a bit to be desired. But apart from those ones, there's a more serious cause for misgiving, and that is that I feel awkward accepting congratulations for accomplishing something for which the credit belongs so much to others. And they're mostly here, so I couldn't get away with it. This graduation is really for me an occasion to give thanks, and for recognizing how far the University Behind Bars has come in the 2 years since our last graduation. First among those whom I have to thank for any academic success, though, has to be my parents, both of whom were scholarship students, and both of whom always instilled in me, early and always, the importance of a rigorous education. Their idea of university was never anything arid or dull. They pressed Shakespeare and astronomy on me with the same passionate enthusiasm. And for them, university was about becoming conscious of all the many splendors that curiosity and sensitivity can make possible in life. And that's something that has remained with me all my life. Today, I especially want to thank Ken Klonsky and Dr. Ruben Carter of Innocence International, both of whose support over the last couple of years have meant so much to me and have been such a source of hope. Carol and David Burns, who have fielded the endless phone calls and the endless requests for books as well, with such grace and such generosity. And Vanessa, who's helped with research and with assignments, but more than that, has been the very model of grace as a reader and a writer and in every other way, as the person I think of whenever I try to think or feel carefully. But I also want to recognize my fellow prisoners who have created a culture here at Monroe that is so unique and so especially conducive to the program, to the University Behind Bars. I especially want to mention Kimati Carter, who has always made a point of being as welcoming as a person could possibly be to me since I arrived here many years ago. And I want to mention Richard St. Kelly and Jeffrey Fox, with whom I've dined these many years. They're great guys. I want to mention Edmonds Community College, which is also here today in the form of Misha Kane, but especially his teachers, Kristen Wittlesil and Theodore Doramal, who have been so supportive of my education. Thanks a lot, guys. And my colleagues at Edmonds, Anthony Wright and William Pollock, who have both been a great source of companionship, although if I get hit by too many more rubber bands in the head, I may lose my mind entirely. And of course, I can also now thank Jeff Connor, since he's thanked me. Without whom none of this work would have been quite so interesting, or for that matter, for those of you who've witnessed our interactions, I would lose all credibility if I didn't say they were also quite infuriating. And I'd like to thank Scott Frakes and Karen Cortine and Marjorie Peterson and all the people who've done so much over the last year to really support this program, and we hope we'll continue to support it. I want to thank the very wonderful faculty, Barbara Bennett, whom I must thank not only for her own class, but for introducing me to Roger Sale. Gilda Shepard, of course, and Ruth Gregory. And I especially want to mention Ruth, not only because she endured my endless championing of Stanley Kubrick, and I'm glad to see it's had some effect, but also because for all that should remain unsaid about her seamy relationship with photocopying machines, it was she who insisted on our fulfilling requirements and getting degrees, and without her I know I wouldn't be receiving this associate's degree, and I think very many of us would not be enrolled as candidates for degrees without her. Finally, I want to thank those who have raised and given the money that makes this program possible, which includes not only our faculty for the most part, but the Tree Frog Choir, which couldn't be here tonight. I think the recognition of their extraordinary generosity brings us to the value of the higher education which inspires it. Now, providing justifications for one's affections is always a little awkward, a little ungainly. I think the real scholar might prefer to say, a little ironically, that curiosity is of all vices the most agreeable, and leave it at that. But the value of education is in dire need of emphasizing in our commercialized age, especially since we're in need of funds, and I can think of no better way of getting at its nature than to tell you about a question that a professor named Alan Bloom thought a university education ought to pose to every freshman. A university education, he felt, ought to challenge students to ask themselves the question, what is wrong with me? What is so broken or missing in my soul? What is so damaged or absent in my humanity? What was so deficient or corrupt in my upbringing and schooling that the massive social mobilization involved in a university education should be required to fix it? What is it in me that needs so much fixing? And Bloom was asking that question, interestingly enough, of the most privileged students at the most selective schools in the country. But I think that question is even more apt, perhaps at least as apt, here in the reformatory, here behind bars. And if Bloom wanted to pose that harsh question, it is because he knew that the university was the only institution that we have that is dedicated to its answer. Higher education is premised on the belief that the essence of education is the experience of greatness, in the freeing of students from the particular and accidental circumstances in which they find themselves, to bring them into connection with the universal community to which we belong when we pursue truth and beauty and excellence and all those things that are sort of fuddy-duddies. The university accomplishes that formidable task through the humbling and insistent reminder of the men and women